They say you are what you eat, so I don't eat chicken feet. But I love me some of Grandma's pickled beets. Well, cut it up, put it in the pan, throw it over your shoulder and see where it lands right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Maters, taters, beans and corn, the cows in the barn and the sheep's been shorn, kids in the barnyard chasing Grandpa's chicken. Chicken. Spices, slices, cuts and dices, gonna slash your grocery prices right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Help you grow your garden good with recipes to suit your mood. Try some grub you've never tried before. Smash it with a wooden mallet, gonna educate your palate. Right here in Farmer's Kitchen, in Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. We're gonna cook something good now.
Hello and welcome to the Farmer's Kitchen. We're the farmers, and this is our kitchen.
That's right.
And what are we today, Mrs. Farmer?
Starving, always.
She's starving.
You haven't fed me all day.
Well, here's the truth to this show. This is not a set, this is our kitchen. And we're actually cooking dinner. Now, we have to think ahead on these things because I actually do have to feed you and I have to feed myself.
Right.
Or we would collapse in front of the cameras, which
Exactly.
would be bad. So we're gonna get some things going and we've already got some things ready.
Right.
But today we're gonna do a very fun show. We're gonna do some real comfort food and we're gonna do a little bit of history on a dish that we sampled very recently. One of the things that we're gonna have here is pulled pork.
Which you love.
Now I'm gonna give you a secret to my pulled pork. A lot of people say don't brine your pulled pork. You can brine your pulled pork, but I will give you a warning. There's a lot of fat and it pulls that salt in and can become almost overwhelmingly salty if you are not careful with your brine. Many times if we're cooking a small one like this, I don't think that you need to brine it. Now the thing that we do to get our taste right off the bat is we're gonna get some bite here with the vinegar that's in mustard, and we get the taste of the mustard, which barks up nicely, doesn't it? Nikki likes to pull the pork real quiet. She doesn't tell me when she's doing it, because and then I come in and she's like munching like a little mouse on a piece of cheese.
Take all the outs. I take it off the bottom so
she
you don't
takes
notice.
all the bark off.
Sorry, I don't want you to notice.
And she eats it. So this is a simple, quick way to get you a quality pork butt. All right, this is fat side down right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my dry rub, because that's the way, I like it. And I'm gonna generously coat this guy. You use whatever dry rub you like, but when you have sweet and savory to go with that bite,
Makes it delicious.
it makes it really, really good. So now I'm gonna
Tip it
have
up.
Miss Nikki turn this over on its side because we want plenty of this on here. We just do. Oh, the smell. A little more mustard. The mustard has its vinegar and its tang, but it's also a great binder. It sticks. Everything sticks to it, so it makes a wonderful combination. Now, we're always going to cook this fat side up because we want that fat overflowing across the meat as we're cooking it. So there's it. Beautiful fat side up. Just take a little bit of that cadmium yellow, make a nice pretty bird right here.
That's a good bird.
Put a little tree over here. Just any way you want to do it. It's up to you. It's beautiful. Now, we love Bob Ross. So now we're going to come back with a generous heap of flavoring
You are
on
getting
top.
it flavored. Very nice.
And then we're going to take it to our smoker. Now we've let this sit out for a couple hours for that to get room temperature. But there's a secret. Should I tell them?
Tell him. You already tell him everything.
All right, my deal for this little guy right here, I'd want to cook him 10 and a half, 11 hours at about 230 to 235 degrees. Low and slow, fat side up, in the smoker. It's where it's going right now. Just a little more on top. So that's basically mustard and dry rub. And look what we've got. That looks beautiful,
Yes,
like
it
it
does.
is. But I wouldn't recommend eating it
We need to cook it.
until you cook it.
That's right.
You know, we've been traveling a lot here lately.
We
And
have.
when we travel, we like to go interesting places and have interesting local foods. And not too long ago, we're in North Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia. And as we passed through this area, we noticed that a lot of people are having
That Brunswick stew.
Brunswick stew.
I had never had it. I loved it.
Oh, it's a
delicious.
thick, meaty.
Right.
You know, you could kind of compare it to, you know, maybe a burgoo type thing. Burgoo has its own history, its own thing, and it's kind of controversial. You know, people from Illinois will say that they're the first. People from Western Kentucky will argue with people in Lawrenceburg, and I think food should be conversational, not controversial. So we're not going to argue any of this. Now, if you're in Brunswick County, Virginia, they're going to probably give you a different story than the city of Brunswick, Georgia, which both lay claim. So as we traveled around, we had different versions of this, and different people would add different things to it. A very thick, meaty stew. They used pulled pork and chicken in theirs, and a lot of other interesting things. So we're going to make that. But not too long ago, we started another sourdough start.
Yes.
And I thought, let's experiment with that. And so I thought, what if we have some pulled pork sandwiches, but you make a homemade sourdough bun? Would you take a look at this?
They're beautiful.
Take a look at that. It's not perfectly shaped.
Because I did it.
Well, the thing is, that's the good thing about
Yeah.
it. It's real. So you just cut that open and you have the perfect bun. We're going to show you how to do that. But first of all, let's get our stew started. I'm going to start with a little olive oil. I'm going to go ahead and take a yellow sweet onion.
My favorite. Do you want to know which place had my favorite? In Wilmington.
Yes.
That was my absolute favorite.
Yes, we had some in Wilmington. It was really good. We're kind of going to mock that today. I think they even put some okra in there, which I like.
It's really good.
Anytime that you can put okra in something, it makes me happy. Onions getting your eyes?
Yes, they're getting me.
Let's go ahead and drop those in here so you're not dying over here.
All right.
So, good base to start anything right here. Got some onions going. Something else that we have done to expedite things is we've gone ahead and boiled our potatoes because Mrs. Farmer is starving.
I don't want to wait.
And we can't have a starving Mrs. Farmer right here in front of everybody. Anytime that you have, to me, yellow sweet onion, and you can just start to get a little bit of brown on those,
Yeah.
to get those sugars starting to caramelize on there.
Smells good.
That's an instant winner. Do you smell that?
I do. It smells delicious. What can I do to help?
I'll tell you what we can do. Let's pop the pork out,
Okay.
which we conveniently pulled off the smoker
It's just been on warm.
for about 11 hours. Oh, would you look at this?
That's beautiful. It's
Now, I
perfect.
want you to look at the moisture that's still in here. Miss Farmer, don't eat all that bark.
I
at
want to
once.
just try a piece, make sure it's good.
I know what you're doing.
Oh.
Most of the time, you don't make the pork especially just for the stew.
But you wanted sandwiches too.
It's usually a leftover thing. This is going on that
That's
in a
right.
little while. But in the meanwhile, we anticipated that we would have some left over because it's just you and I. Again, Kelly's got that alpha gal thing going, so a lot of the stuff that she used to take home with her, she can't now.
Darren would like some. We'll send some for Darren.
Darren has to be nice though
Okay.
and bring me lots of money.
Okay.
Okay, so here's where we're going. We have some beef stock. Keep your beef stock. I'm going to start with about 4 cups, and I'll probably put more than that in there. And here's 28 ounces of tomatoes.
Yummy.
Now I want you to look at this. Look at the moisture. Look at the color. Look at the consistency. Look how that's coming out. Listen to the moisture that's in this.
Ooh, that fatty part.
I mean, look at this. The way that
wow.
we did this, there is no dry meat.
Oh, look at that.
Oh my, would you look at that. Now in just a little while, that's going to be on one of your sourdough buns. We're going to show you step by step how to do that, by the way. Let's go ahead and pop that in here. So we're going to take that much for now. I would say it's about a cup, wouldn't you?
Oh, at least maybe a little more. That's a lot.
And let's see what we got here. Yeah, we need a little bit more, actually.
A little bit more?
Now that's already starting to get that look. Oh my. And I'm going to take some chicken. I'm going to go ahead and put some chicken in here as well.
This will all be so fast because everything's cooked.
If you have a loved one that has a problem with red meat, you can do chicken. And you need to use chicken stock. For those of you that are interested or have a loved one that's suffering with this and wonder how things are going, let's go talk to Dr. Matt about Alpha Gal. We're back with Dr. Matt, and this lately, a lot of people have been asking us about this, you know, and
Thank goodness it hadn't happened to me. In my world, hunting and fishing, I have pulled hundreds, literally hundreds of ticks off of me. It's a wonder I don't have some sort of horrible disease. But Jan Stone says my husband was diagnosed with alpha-gal. Now that's a strange sounding thing. He can only eat chicken, turkey, and fish. First of all, that just sounds bizarre. But she wants to know, is it true that it can be reversed with acupuncture? So there's a lot of questions there, but what is alpha-gal?
When I first heard of it, I thought it was totally made up because it does sound pretty bizarre. But it's a proven disease now. It's not been around that long. We've not known about it for very long. You're right, it's caused by ticks. So it's caused by an allergy to a specific carbohydrate in meat, which is galactose 1,3 alpha galactose. So we shorten it as alpha-gal. In mammalian meat, not just any meat, and that's specifically why the foods that he can eat there. So if you were bitten by a tick, so say a tick bites another mammal specifically, and then it bites you and it has that carbohydrate from the meat in its system that then goes into your bloodstream. Your body develops antibodies to that, and then when you eat mammalian meat, then you're going to have this histamine reaction. Your body's going to attack that carbohydrate. And normally we talk about allergies in terms of proteins. This is one of the very few allergies to a carbohydrate. So then when you eat mammalian meat, so cattle, lamb, goats, venison, those are mammals, you're going to have this reaction.
What is the reaction?
Just like any other allergic reaction to food.
Hives?
So hives, nausea, vomiting, headache.
Wow.
Potentially anaphylaxis, so your throat closing up, so that's the really dangerous one. And you would treat it like any other allergy with Benadryl, potentially an EpiPen if you're really allergic and worried about the anaphylaxis.
So as we hear more about this, is there any hope that it can be reversed?
Actually, it's an interesting allergy in that a lot of times it fades over 8 to 10 months, and sometimes people can go back to eating red meat and mammalian meat. And it's a weird term to say mammalian meat, but that's specifically what it is. It's not found in chicken and fish. And
How bizarre. I would hate that. I would really hate that. So I would just take a bunch of Benadryl and have me a steak.
that's one way to do it.
Unusual stuff. Thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, one thing that we noticed, every restaurant and every person, when we sampled their Brunswick stew, it was thick with meat. You could definitely stand a spoon up in it, or two.
Can I put these in?
Yes.
And I'll get you some more meat.
And many times we would taste a sweetness and we would ask, and a lot of times it was brown sugar, but more in the Georgia areas, it seemed to be barbecue sauce. Now, a lot of the old recipes will say butter beans, lima beans, whatever you want to call them. So do you want to put smoker in it?
I think we should.
Karen, our
Karen gave us
buddy,
that.
grows her own and cut these up and froze them
Isn't
for
that
us.
nice? I was so glad to find those. today in the
Anytime I
freezer.
can find an excuse to put okra in something, I'm digging it. Now, something else I'm going to do too to add just a little more smoky, sweet and savory flavor, I'm going to put a little bit of my dry rub in there just for interesting taste. And I'm going to put some good healthy sea salt with no additives in there.
Good idea. I'm gonna cover this up for when we do our sandwiches. How's
Okay.
that? Keep it warm.
Look at what we've got so far. I'm tickled to death. Oh, and it smells
looks so
good. Now, one thing we do need is a vinegar taste. And our sweet thing here is going to be just a little bit of our barbecue sauce. That's going to have that savory, sweet and savory.
That's pretty. I like the colors. You had to have the okra for the look.
Now, what do you want? What do we need?
Corn. Because you got to get some yellow in there. You got to make it pretty.
That's exactly right.
And that's the best corn ever.
That is, and that's going to bring up that sweet flavor as well.
That seemed pretty simple.
That is pretty simple.
I like that.
Now that's about what it's going to look like. So some of that moisture in there is going to, as it cooks, it's going to cook out, and it's going to become thicker and thicker. So we're also going to add a bay leaf. Oh, what did I forget, Mrs. Farmer?
Telecherry.
Our
Always.
favorite pepper in the world.
Gotta have that.
Some telecherry pepper,
Yummy.
which we just ground a little while ago.
Perfect.
You gotta have that peppery flavor along with that.
And it's perfect.
Let's let that simmer,
Right.
cook it down, and then we'll come back and try it and see if we need to add anything.
How about I make some bread?
Let's make some bread. You accepted the challenge. I said, man, let's do something with that sourdough. If you want to find out how to do a quick starter yourself, it's so easily done in your own kitchen.
Right.
It's not a hard thing. Here's a look back real quick, just how to start this, then we'll get on with this recipe. Day one, What do you do, Miss Farmer?
And we started with we just used a glass bowl and we would cover it each night so we could kind of watch it better. I just have these because I think they look fancy to have it on the counter.
We took some video with our phone because it was such a process. Now we used just regular store-bought all-purpose flour.
Right.
4 ounces, 4 ounces. Flour, water. You put this in, mix it up,
Right.
cover your bowl, set it in a temperature anywhere between 70 and 80 degrees, which is pretty easy to do.
Right.
We set it in a room over top of the garage
That's
where we
kinda
knew it was a
warm.
little bit warmer.
Right.
Day 2, we come back,
24 hours.
24 hours, and we notice there's already a few bubbles in
Right.
here. That's what you want to see. That
Right.
means things are working. It's eating.
Yes.
Day 2, 24 hours later, we add 4 ounces of flour, 4 ounces of water. We mix it up, stir it up real good. Then you scrape any down off the sides, down into the bowl.
Right.
Cover it, set it back in your spot where it's 70 to 80 degrees. Day 3,
Did you notice something different day 3?
I did notice something. It's really starting to work. It's starting to get a smell to it. It's starting to
is.
smell like sourdough bread.
A little bubbly.
A little bubbly. Same thing. Feed it.
Right.
4 ounces flour, 4 ounces of water.
Right, equal
Mix
parts.
it up. Equal parts. Mix it up. Scrape it off the sides.
Right.
Cover it back in your 70, 80 degree
Easy,
environment.
simple.
Easy. Day 4, we noticed something really unique. Started getting a vinegar smell and
Yeah.
that sourdough.
Got excited.
It was
didn't we?
sour.
Yes.
It was a little pungent. So we stirred it up, fed it again,
Right.
put it away, covered it, and it really did. You hope for that vinegar. Lots of bubbles. Lots of bubbles at this point. Day 5, we fed it after day 4. Day 5, guess what? It's ready to use.
Yes, it
if
is.
you're having that action and it's doing its thing, sometimes you may want to go another day, feed it, and do it another day.
Right.
But it worked for us. It was ready to go. So we got our start. How long? You've had that since November?
I started this in November, and I've been working on it. And what's really nice about this is I try to make a spread every couple days. If we go on a trip, you can put it in the fridge for 7 days. Or if I'm not going to make bread, and I keep pulling the same one out.
And if you find out that you've got too much bread, you just take it and
You eat it, that's right. And this is actually down low. It's usually up because I've been playing and practicing. I'm down to like my last, I got to keep her going.
But again, I want you to look at this. Look at this thing of beauty.
Isn't that pretty?
Look at that bun.
And it
You just
tastes
take a
good.
bread knife, cut that in half, and boom, you've got you something special.
So here's what we started with. I started, and I've already warmed this up, just warm, and this is half and half
Gotcha.
that I used. It's actually half a cup of half and half. And this is where I use my starter. So half a cup of that, and I'm gonna use half a cup of my starter. And I'm probably gonna use about all this.
You know what's funny? When you pull out of the air the little microbes and things it takes to make this, each batch, wherever you are, is going to smell and taste a little bit different.
Yeah. So that's what I'm starting with. Half a
Okay.
cup of half and half, and I got half a cup of my starter.
All right.
And like you said, we've had this going quite a few months. Mix that up. I have a tablespoon here. I'm gonna have olive oil and an egg.
Gotcha.
Those are my first 4 ingredients. Now this is the step that's gonna make it a 5-hour process instead of a 2-day process, because we're gonna add a little bit of yeast. I have got a teaspoon of yeast here.
No law against it,
No law against it.
but it does speed things. It helps
Yes,
it
it
rise.
does. We're gonna add that in. I also have, we're gonna sweeten this up a little bit. I have a tablespoon of honey.
Now here's the interesting part. If you want your bread to have a little flavor, if you want to put a little garlic, a little onion powder, you can do that.
That would be good. I'm gonna put about half a teaspoon of salt. I'm just gonna guess here. It's about half a teaspoon, isn't it?
Yep. Close enough, Miss Farmer.
Only thing we have left is to add some flour.
Yeah, you gotta have flour.
And I usually add about, this is 2 cups. I put 1 cup in, kind of get it all mixed a little before I add my next cup, and I'm gonna actually get in there with my hands and get dirty, unless you want to.
I'm good.
You're good?
Sometimes, Mrs. Farmer, there's an advantage to having 2 hands.
You think? All right, here's my last cup. And this is gonna get kind of thick. When it gets thick, I'm gonna actually get my hands in there. And the one thing about this dough is I am gonna actually knead it with my hands for 5 minutes to get it to a consistency we want.
I prefer to mess with the meat and potatoes, but you're good at this baking stuff.
And you'll see how this starts off kind of dry, but it's gonna get elasticy. Now I'm doing this by hand because I think it's fun and it's good exercise for my fingers. But you could use your mixer, the bread mixer, you could let that go. And I'm just gonna mix this. I'm gonna go for about 5 minutes
Till it's all pretty.
till it's really pretty and stuff.
All right.
That's been about 5 minutes. We're gonna put this behind us and cover it up. All right, now after kneading that 5 minutes, I covered it and I just let it sit on the counter for an hour and a half. And look how much, it doubles, more than doubles the size.
Nice.
Now we're gonna actually spread it out and I'm gonna divide it, my hands are wet here and that's okay. Divide it into 6 pieces and we're gonna shape what we would consider a bun. If you notice, I just threw this down and I'm gonna try to cut it in what I consider 6 even pieces that we're gonna shape into a bun. And that's why mine they all look a little different.
And that's the beauty of it, you know, that's the real deal.
You see how this is a really thick?
Mm-hmm. Then you kind of mold it into a circle.
We are going to. We're gonna mold these all.
Let me help you.
Yeah, and then these are actually gonna sit for another 45 minutes. And they're gonna double in size. You'll be surprised at what happens to them.
And then I noticed when you were cooking them, they almost doubled again.
Yes, you'll see. I did these about 45 minutes ago.
Look
Same
at
thing,
that.
and these have sat for 45 minutes. And I did use parchment paper. And see how they've kind of grown a little bit just sitting for the 45 minutes?
Now you see they're all different sizes. You don't have
Yeah.
to make them perfect.
Now I've got an egg here. Here's my little baby whisk. Kelly likes my baby
tiny
whisks.
baby whisks?
Yes, my baby whisks. And they're good for this purpose.
So you're not just going egg white, you're going the whole.
Yeah, I'm not dividing it. Some people do white or the yolk. I'm just doing the whole thing.
Gotcha. And not only does it make them nice and shiny and pretty, but that's kind of a binding agent
I'm being
as
Bob-
well. It makes it nice and brown.
Yes.
And it holds the sesame seeds.
I'm being Bob Ross. This is
tell
beautiful.
us what you paint. There's a beautiful.
It's a beautiful little yellow sunshine. I don't know.
You make it what you want it.
That's right. Make it what
Make
you
it
want.
however you want it.
You can sprinkle those sesame seeds on if you'd like. Yeah.
All right.
And like you said, you could put that everything seasoning on it or whatever you want.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want here. You could infuse those with massive amounts of garlic and take some of that little bit of smoked salmon.
Yummy. So you saw we had to make the bread. It had to sit an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Then we let it sit another 45 minutes. And now we're going to cook it for 17 minutes. So it's a little bit of a process, but exactly 17 minutes is what works for me. They say 20 minutes, 22, depending on your oven. But I have it at 375.
The secret is to keep your eye on it.
That's right. These
'Cause
are ready.
If you don't, what happens, Mrs. Farmer?
I burn my bread, always. And let's watch them grow. They're hot, but look at all my different sizes.
Look at those. But you know what? How big a sandwich do you want? You
Yeah,
get to pick.
That's right.
So we're just going to take a little bit of butter and a little bit of garlic. We're going to take our sourdough bun.
Toast it.
We're going to roasty toast it. Then let's pull a little bit of pork for our sandwich. And we're going to have some
Yummy.
Brunswick stew and a wonderful, beautiful pulled pork sandwich.
Yummy.
You know, I just had a memory, just looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, you remember the old wells?
Mm-hmm.
You know, hand cranks?
Yes.
You turn it till the water came out and you had a bucket on there. And I remember
Mm-hmm. You're old.
the old timers would have a galvanized spoon like that.
That was my
You
grandma's.
dip down that water and you take a
Yes.
drink. You remember that?
Yes, that was
This,
hers.
this is probably, might be 100 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, look what we've got. Now, can I ask you a special favor?
Yes. What would you
I
like?
can't hardly stand it. Can I take a bite of your sandwich?
Oh, no. Oh, yes, you can.
You take it first and then I'll take a bite.
And I'm
Oh,
just
it looks-
teasing. I want
it
you to
looks
try
so
it.
good.
I made the bun, so I want you to try it.
Oh, would
look
you
how-
look at that?
Look how nice and squishy that is.
And that is homemade, guys. You can do anything in the world that you buy out there, you can do it at home.
How is
Oh,
it?
my.
And a nice squishy bun. Look at how squishy.
Oh,
Is it really good? I'm gonna try.
Oh my goodness. All right, Ms. Farmer.
That's
Look,
good.
now when you've got a Brunswick stew, you can use a spoon if it's properly done, or you can use a fork.
That's delicious.
Oh my.
You could eat on that all day too.
Oh my.
Oh wow.
I could cry.
This is wonderful.
You know,
Don't cry.
there's something sad here though.
What's so sad?
Our half hour's up.
Oh man.
That being said, Mrs. Farmer, if you're hunting reindeer on the tundra
I do
and
that a
somebody
lot.
runs up to you and says, Mrs. Farmer, how would you find our recipes? Where would you go?
I'll tell them timfarmerscountrykitchen.com.
That's where they need to go if
That's
they want
right.
to learn how to cook the reindeer.
That's right.
And also, We have lots of folks out there who like to talk to us on social media. If they want to come to our Facebook page, what would you have them do?
I'd have them hit like.
It's just that simple. Thanks again for hanging out with us for 30 years. We've been doing television, Mrs. Farmer.
You have.
30 years, and I thank you for coming along about 13 years ago and making this show better than it should be.
Oh, that is sweet.
So it's all about
Good times.
good friends,
And really good eats.
and we're going to eat right now. You can't stop us. We're out of control. We have been catering for a lot of years, and I wanted everything to have a specific taste. Therefore, I had to come up with my own products.
Right.
A dry rub, chow chow, and our barbecue sauce are something that we use in all our catering gigs. I developed this barbecue sauce that is not the really thick, syrupy stuff that you get. This has more of a natural, it's got some pepper and onion flavor in it. You can actually see the particulates in there. You know, a lot of people are asking what we use our dry rub on. Now, obviously, pork and chicken are two of the more common things. Also, we've been using on our corn on the cob with butter.
That is.
I'm telling you, this
That's
stuff
wonderful.
with potatoes is fantastic. So 40 years in the making, Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen Dry Rub.
Funding for Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen is brought to you by Emerson Farms Country Store. Something for every member of the family. Ephraim McDowell Medical Center in Danville, Kentucky. Gulf Coast Connection. Seafood straight from the Gulf to you. The Spine Center of Central Kentucky. Wilderness Road Hospitality, Stanford, Kentucky. Visit Frankfort, Kentucky's spirited capital city.